She wrote a little song you might recognize for Blake Shelton called Austin. She has her own video podcast and a bunch of programs empowering women. I am excited that Kirsti Manna is here. Welcome, Kirsti.
Thanks for having me, Sue.
Yes. Okay. So we got to talk about Austin.
Let's do it.
That was like the breakout song for Blake Shelton. And now he's, the big guy, and he's all doing the voice, and he's got his all these programs. So tell me about the song.
Well, it was really serendipitous how all that happened. But basically, what happened was going to write with a friend of mine, and he had left this message on his answering machine that said, "If this is Austin, I still love you." And I went, "Oh my gosh, that is
kidding."
No, totally true. And I said, "Well, that's a winner. We got to write that." So I got to his house, and he said, "Well, I really don't want to write that idea. I'm sick of writing about my childhood love affairs." I said, "Get out of here." He goes, "No, everybody
loves those songs."
You're right. He said, "Everybody's telling me to write that idea." And I said, "You don't want to write it?" He said, "No." I said, "Can I have the idea?" He goes, "Yeah, take it."
Wow.
Okay. So I go over to David Kent's house. A couple days later, I said, "You have got to hear this idea." I don't know if you've called Ash's house lately, but he said, "What?" I said, "He left this message, said, if this is Austin, I still love you." And it was about his girlfriend. His girlfriend lived in Austin. And a lot of people have asked me, is that the name of a girl, of a guy? And it's the name of Austin, Texas.
Yes.
Because she lived there. And that's where she went when she left Nashville. He was leaving the message, if this is Austin, I still love you. Like if this is Youngstown, where I'm from, I still love you. So anyway, David goes, he doesn't want the idea. No.
Wow.
So we talked about that idea for a really long time, probably for about 6 hours. We talked about what we could see it doing. We decided we wanted it to be like a movie, a little movie, 3-minute movie. We wrote it in 2 sessions.
Wow.
And, I always loved writing with David Kent. And so when the song was finished and he made this, he would make these really good work demos, I thought, wow, I think we really have something. So then his publisher pitched it to Clay Walker.
Oh, okay.
And Clay Walker put it on hold. Well, actually to Debbie Zavitson, who at that time was at Giant Records, and she was A&R there. She put it on hold for Clay Walker. Clay really liked the song. And then Clay took it off hold, and she loved Austin. She loved the song so much, and so she really wanted to pitch it to this baby act. So she called us up, and David Kent called me, and he said, "What do you think about letting this guy, Blake Shelton, record Austin?" Well, at that time, we weren't calling it Austin. That whole thing didn't happen until a little bit later. And so I said, "Well, I've heard him sing. He's really good."
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, it'll be a good cut.
Good thing you said that. He's really good.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, he is really good. So he recorded the song, and Bobby Braddock produced it. And Bobby said, I think we should change the name to just Austin. He said, I could see this one-word title going up the charts. And so I thought, okay, well, he's had a couple.
Right.
So I guess we'll, let him lead us there. When the song was cut and everything, and Bobby said, I want you to come to, the publisher's office. I'm one of the publishers, and Jenna Talbot was David Kent's publisher at the time, and her dad had a big part in starting the CMA and everything. So she was kind of like, country music royalty in my mind. So we go to the office, and Bobby's going to play us the cut, and it hit that second verse, and I thought, and I'm biting my lip because I thought I am going to bawl right here. It was I was so moved by it,
Right.
So, and then it was just, after that, it was just so, it was unbelievable. I mean, how could we even imagine that it would go up the charts like that?
Exactly.
It did all these great things. And it was the first major cut for me. I never had a major cut like that. So, I would always pull the car over and listen,
Right.
Is this really happening?
That's my song.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I love that. Now, so you also, you have your own publishing company.
Yeah.
So tell me about that and
Sure.
who you're working with, if you can, reveal who you're working with.
Sure. Well, my publishing company is called Kirsti Manna Songs, and I called it that because I like my name, and so I thought, well, it's easy for people to remember you one time.
Right.
So anyway, I've helped different artists and published some different artists, indie artists, but I write for my company, and so currently doing a lot of writing with Tori Martin, who's on the label that I work with, Lucky Sky Music. I'm VP and creative director there as well. So I write with her quite a bit. And my dear, dear friend, my soul song brother, Bill DeLuigi, he and I write together a lot too. But I love writing with young artists. I've always loved trying to help young women and girls understand what's going on in the music business and just really inspire them creatively. So
yeah, and so speaking of that, that's kind of your passion, is kind of helping women, especially young women in the industry.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple of programs. Tell me about your programs that you have for the ladies.
Sure. Well, I started, I haven't done these events in several years. When the pandemic, of course, closed in on us, I couldn't have any more events at that time. But I was holding events called Songwriter Girl Camp. And so I was inspired to do that because I had at one time been doing workshops and teaching at a big talent event that used to occur in South Carolina. So I would go to these events and I'd get in the room, get ready to talk, and the girls would all be, really excited. And as soon as guys would get in the room, they would change. And I thought, okay, I want to get the girls along.
Right. Yeah.
So I decided to start doing Songwriter Girl Camp. And the camps were about writing, but for me, really, they were about helping build people's confidence and everything. And I had some really amazing moments through the years at those camps, meeting different girls and really moving times for me and for everybody who attended. And so the camps would just be all about writing, co-writing, learning about publishing, and I would have speakers come in and talk about different aspects of the business.
Nice.
And then I decided, and I've always done public speaking, and I'm really into that. And so when the pandemic started, again, I was about to really get into promoting my speaking, and the pandemic, of course, shut that all down.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, podcast, that's like a stage,
There you go.
So I thought, well, I'll start a podcast. So I started a podcast called Kirsti Cast, and it's kind of a broader umbrella, so to speak, of Songwriter Girl. And I really wanted to meet other women and girls that were entrepreneurial in spirit, like yourself, and had creative spirits, and introduce them to my audience. And so I started doing Kirsti Cast. And
you're kind of with all of that too. You kind of have that like inspiration piece in your everything that you're doing. I mean, especially you're just working with the ladies, and then within your podcast, you have that little inspiration piece. Yeah. So I think that's really important. So what's inspiring to you?
Oh wow. Well, things that are inspiring to me are just people that are inspiring. That sounds really crazy, but I'm really inspired by what people can do with their lives. People that have nothing and they really make something of their life. They really go after their dreams, and I just think it's so important. I'm going to say this to you out there: if you have a dream, just really go for it. Have a plan, make a plan, and just don't be afraid. And that was one of the things I talked about a lot in Songwriter Girl Camp, was losing the fear, because I think that's a thing that stops everybody from from writing a song, singing, going up and talking to somebody that they think could help them, all kinds of things. I started doing that Stay Inspired story in my podcast for my guest question, because I wanted to learn more about every person that I interviewed and what really was making them tick, and why they wanted to do what they wanted to do in the world, and how they wanted to share their own story, because we all have a story.
Right, exactly. And that's interesting too, because sometimes we think our stories are like, it's just my story, but then you tell it and somebody says, oh, I resonate with that, or that's, that it means something to me. So it's great that you're bringing those stories out in your podcast. So now you also have, you've got a new online course. Yes. Tell us about that.
Well, that was another thing that I did during the pandemic.
Okay, girl, you got the energy and you got all the projects. Have you figured out how to multiply time or something? I don't know.
No, because I do like to sleep and eat.
Okay, good.
So I do make time for that. During the pandemic, again, I thought, well, I've always wanted to write an online course. And at the time, I was working with somebody that was, again, trying to help me, get speaking engagements. And he had put together a lot of online courses in this sense. He knew how to load it into, the aggregator, all that kind of stuff. What do I know? Right. I'm just like, I'm just writing songs over here. So it just all comes out of that whole thing of wanting people to just I just want to kick people in the butt creatively. And I used to say at camp, I don't care if you want to be a chef. I just want you to be awake to who you are inside, and don't be afraid to meet that person. Always have to talk about this acting coach that I had named Tom Capps, because he was one of the most inspiring people in my life. And he, the first time I met him, he said to me, "What do you want to do with your art?" And I said, I want to move people. And he said, "Well, I can take you to the next level." So I thought, he's going to help me be an actor, And really, at the end of all my studies with him, I realized it was really about, my art being what I could create, and it didn't have to be in front of a camera on a stage. And it was my words and how I spoke to people and how I could inspire people too. So that's where kind of all that stuff came from. So the course is all about losing your fear, discovering your potential, discovering more about yourself, just going for it. And it's real introspective. And so, if anybody wants to get the course, you can go to my website and you can get yourself attached to it there.
Okay, good. So one last question is if you have one little bit of advice for somebody who maybe is a songwriter, what do you think if they're just kind of writing songs, not really sure what to do next? What's kind of your best advice, or what they should do next?
Well, there's so much to say about that actually, but one thing that I think is really important, I said it a minute ago, is to have a plan. You have to exist, you have to eat, you have to pay your rent. Right. I think it's really important to have a plan. A lot of people are so enamored with Nashville, they come here and they're on vacation. They don't realize they're coming here with stars in their eyes and they're on vacation. Yes. But I think it's important to come here, check it out, see if you like it, and meet people and network with people, because this town is one of the easiest places you'll ever go. And we talked about that, to engage with other people, and people are really helpful here. So they want to help you out. And if you say, "Oh, I'm from such and such a place," there's always going to be somebody who goes, "Well, I know so-and-so," that,
Exactly.
And then it becomes the homey thing.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's connected to everybody.
Yes.
It's like sometimes I feel like there needs to be like a family tree of country music where it's like if people that are related or got married, and then this, like you wrote a song for Blake, and then Blake, it's like this whole like tree of everybody knows everybody.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea for a song. I like that thought. But seriously, it's so like that here. And so I think that if you can come here and, work smart, meet people, play songwriter nights that are kind of more strategic. I think when you're first getting your feet wet, it's good to go and work your stuff out somewhere where, because there could be an industry person anywhere. Right. Yeah. They're not just going to these big shows. They're sticking their heads in it, these little hole-in-the-wall writers' nights, so to speak.
We were just talking about that was kind of how Garth Brooks was discovered at the Bluebird, like on accident. He was supposed to, be one of the last ones, got moved up, and some people happened to be there, and next thing you know, he's Garth Brooks.
Yeah, well, Garth was working with one of our first publishers that we were signed to, and he sang some demos for us. He came over to our apartment and sang demos. That was really cool,
I love that.
So, and he's just such a great person, because I've seen him again then later in my career and his career, and he's just the same. He's really nice.
See, I've heard that about him too, that it's like the way that you see him on TV or interviews, that he's exactly the same way.
Yeah. And I, what I think is so funny, I don't know if you ever watched the Nashville show, but I always thought it was hilarious in the parts where they'd have the paparazzi, because have you ever seen paparazzi in this town?
No.
Everybody's just
I'm one of the paparazzi on the red carpet with the excuse me.
Yeah.
Can I get a comment?
Yeah.
You don't really see that very much.
No.
Yeah.
Nashville's just it's just
a little
so
bit
laid
different.
back.
Yeah,
It's different.
I know. I see people, a lot of celebrities, if you will, the country celebrities on socials that are posting something of them, like, at the Kroger shopping or doing whatever. And I'm like, they're everywhere here.
Yeah.
I keep waiting to run into Miranda Lambert at Walmart or something.
Right. Well, somebody told me that Miranda Lambert had New Year's Eve dinner a couple years ago at the Old Hickory Country Club. So that's right here.
Right. It's right around the corner. Right? Between my house and your house.
Old Hickory.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for being here, giving us a little insight,
thanks.
and of course, sharing all of the things that you're doing and resources for people who are, looking to get into the business too. So thank you. If you want to follow Kirsti Manna, she's your gal.
Yes, thank you so much for
Sure.
having me.
Thanks for watching Up in Country. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave us a comment. We do new episodes every Tuesday, and be sure to follow Up in Country on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And you can follow me too at Sue Bonzell on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.